Taylor Gray tucking in behind in that number 17. It's going to be a great battle for them all year long here and all day.
Traditionally, the bottom group here at Milwaukee has been the preferred, but Sammy Smith, for the 6th time this year, leads us from the general tire poll. He had choice of lane. He chose the outside. It's working instantly.
Look at these teammates, the 15 and the 20. Those are teammates for Venturini Motorsports side by side.
Jesse Love won last week at Springfield. He had a teammate in Buddy Kofoid racing in his shadow throughout the day. Now it's number 15 of Landon Pembleton, his young teammate, racing for 3rd, continually off the backstretch.
We've seen Landon Pembleton earlier this year, had a great run.
Iowa Speedway, he really made a splash, and his 5th place finish there on the 7/8 mile.
They are stuck together, that 15 and that 20. There you see Jesse Love making a little move, coming out front. Jesse Love, last week's winner at Springfield. He's going after Taylor Gray.
Daniel Dye has the same race car. He raced the 3rd here. He's racing to the inside, a little too wide there. That's Landon Pembleton, his first time here at the mile. We had that weather-related day. Are we going to get on the track? Are we going to get to qualify? Landon's learning this racetrack. Daniel's got some experience here. We saw how quickly he was to the bottom, and Landon really went a group and a half too high there. He'll learn from that moment.
The yellow flag is out, our first caution of the day here at Milwaukee. And it is out for the 0-3 of Alex Clubb. Alex Clubb, that sort of blue-collar team, does everything sort of himself, coming off a great finish at Springfield. 11th for that team is like a win.
And this is the same car. They really worked hard on that car. They had a lot of nose damage, other issues with the machine, and going back to Morris, Illinois, not far from here. This is a home track for Alex and his dad, Brian. A lot of work, and unfortunately, looks like that car got in the wall early here at the Sprecher 150.
I went down, made sure to find him this morning, because I know that 11th place really means something on the dirt. See, the window net is down for Alex Clubb in that 03. Again, the first yellow of the day here at the Milwaukee Mile for the Sprecher 150.
Making his 9th start here on the season. The full-timers, here we go. Krista, we got our hands full of the championship chase among those 3.
Well, and for so long, we were talking about Nick Sanchez, Raja Caruth, teammates there, the number 2 and the number 6. They were neck and neck. It's starting to spread out a little bit. Daniel Dye now in the 2nd position, but Raja Caruth just 4 points behind.
And that dirt mile we had last Sunday really was a difference maker. Daniel Dye gained some on Nick Sanchez, got 2nd position for Raja Caruth after the race 2 races last weekend. It's really jostling now, and Daniel Dye coming into form. Sanchez and Caruth were here last year, but they were non-factors, finishing 12th and 13th. And they never raced on the dirt before last Sunday. We're going back to a dirt mile this Sunday. So there's a lot to play here in Daniel Dye's favor, just 13 points out now.
And if you've watched the last 3 races, you've watched them all within the span of a week, because we went from a road, the ARCA Menards series went from a road course to that dirt track you talked about at Springfield. Now back to what I guess we would call the normal of being a flat 1 mile oval.
Lots of racing left on the schedule, but it's inching away now. This is event 15 of 20, and Sammy Smith, this young driver, he's been really special in the races he's run this season.
Well, let's hear how special. Let's join Mike Massaro, the 3rd member of our broadcast team, downstairs.
Well, hello. Yes, I wanted to talk about the dynamics of the last week or so. Of course, we had a road course in Watkins Glen, then a dirt track in Springfield, and in between that, there was one driver who also ran a super speedway, Daytona. That was Sammy Smith, your current leader of this race. He ran the Xfinity race there. So a lot of learning, a lot of different styles of racing. I spoke with Sammy before today, and he said he was really excited to get back to quote-unquote normal racing. Quite the education over the past week. Required quite a few mental gymnastics, if you will. Had to go through various techniques, road course, dirt track, and of course super speedway driving. But now he's back to his bread and butter. Real excited about it, and obviously one to watch here this afternoon. Started on the pole in a car that was dominant a year ago with Ty Gibbs behind the wheel. Every lap here 1 year ago.
It's an early check here. This early caution gives these drivers the ability to say, wait a minute, we qualified just a while ago, couldn't touch the car on impound. What do you have? These crew chiefs want to know more. And Mark McFarland, the common thread here between that dominant run last year by Ty Gibbs and Sammy Smith, he's got his entire team intact to bring Sammy back to the mile in their stuff. Last year, Sammy raced here as a teammate to Ty Gibbs.
And we talked about the race, or their practice this morning was shortened by that weather. So these 5 laps that they've now had under their belt, a chance, like you said, to just sort of take your breath and just sort of take a breath. Because if we're up on the chip up here, Mike Massaro talked about mental gymnastics. The viewers should know that Jim Trado actually knocked over a monitor doing his own mental gymnastics.
I did. A lot of hand movements up here, but you know what? It's great to see Raja Carruth doing as well as he is here this early. He talked to me this morning. I said, how are you getting ready for this race? He said, last year doesn't count. I've been really doing a lot of work, and I need more seat time. Not iRacing time, more seat time. He settled in here in the 6th early on.
Well, they're going to get the seat time today here, 150 laps at the Milwaukee Mile. We talked about Daniel Dye and that number 43, the same car he had also at Phoenix, another flat oval. There you see Daniel Dye's car. Let's take a look. He is this week's Bounty Rookie Spotlight driver.
I want to win a lot of races. I think that's in anything I race in, whether that was quarter midgets when I was a kid or late models over the past couple of years, and anything moving forward. I want to win races. This year I'm full time and I have an opportunity to win the championship. I think being able to call myself an ARCA champion would be really, really cool. I think it'd be really, really cool for the GMS team too. So I think that's our end goal for the year, but the last couple races we've had a little bit of trouble just doing a couple simple things, just get rid of those mistakes, and we're in great shape. It's really cool being able to race Nick and Raja for the championship. Those are two of my buddies here that I talk to at the racetracks, and it's cool being able to race against those guys. Obviously they're having a good year, both of them. Just gotta run up front just like they are, a little bit better, and hopefully get a couple wins ourselves, and hopefully be right where Nick is right now and take the championship lead, and hopefully by the end of the year. I love the Milwaukee Mile. We ran really well there last year, finished 3rd to Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer. I love that place. I have a little bit of something figured out there, so I'm really excited to go back. It races really, really cool. I like racing around other cars there, and it's super fast, so I'm excited to go back.
That is our Bounty Rookie Spotlight driver, Daniel Dye, taking a look at the Bounty Rookie Challenge points, and he loves racing and bowling, two things that fans here in Milwaukee love as well.
Oh yeah, we have the American Bowling Congress headquartered here that oversaw all league sanctioning for years. It's now in Texas, but there's a lot of kegling going on here in these parts, I can guarantee you that. Daniel Dye has taken over this Bounty Rookie Challenge lead because he's at 8 straight top 10 finishes. The other 2 are bouncing around 10th and 11th on occasion, but he's been really consistent getting that Bounty lead with a separate point system.
Taking a look at Greg Van Als in that number 35, a veteran of the ARCA Menards series. He is also a contender in the championship battle, trying to stay in those top 5 in points. As we continue to bring you racing from Milwaukee, the yellow still out. We'll get you back under green in just a bit here on MAV TV.
Series is brought to you by General Tire. Anywhere is possible. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards.
Welcome back to Milwaukee. The Brewers in town today. Game as well. But the big spotlight for us is at the Milwaukee Mile, just a few steps away over in West Allis, Wisconsin.
There's a lot of neighborhood houses right along the backstretch between here and what we see where the Milwaukee Brewers play. It's a great community effort. West Allis outgrew downtown. Alice Chalmers built this city.
That's a
With a big
tractor.
plant.
I
Oh,
know
yeah.
that one.
They manufactured more Alice Chalmers tractors here than anywhere else in the world for a span of time.
I was driving around the
right out there.
racetrack this morning on 77th. Here's
Yeah.
where you're talking on the backstretch in those houses. And I thought, how cool it must be to live where you walk outside and that's your view, is the racetrack.
Yeah, I've been coming here since the early 70s, and I'm telling you see people hanging out of trees. You can't get enough of it. The history here. Victory Lane itself has been named after A.J. Foyt, who raced here more than any other track in his lifetime. He raced midgets, he raced sprint cars, he raced Indy cars, and USAC stock cars for a lot of years here on the mile.
Well, there you see the Sprecher root beer that is lining Victory Lane for the Sprecher 150.
Right on the podium, you see that stacked boxes of yellow. Those are actually cases of Sprecher root beer. For the second straight year, Menards stores nationwide have allowed you, if you bought a case of that Sprecher, that got you redeemed for a race ticket here at the mile this weekend, their sponsored race.
That is an awesome promotion. You know what else is awesome? How to get around the Milwaukee Mile. Jim, do you have your keys for us?
We've got a few glances thus far at what I think are key components here. When can you get back in the gas? These corners are as long as the quarter mile straightaway, so you really need to figure out when you can get back in the gas. I think turn 2 is really important here. Main reason, you need to be good off a 2 to make a pass into turn 3, and you need to get in a rhythm here. As big as this track is, and as flat as it is, there's a lot of turning going on. You need to get in a rhythm and not be tricked by how far that car wants to lean over to the right-hand side.
You see the pace car dip off the racetrack onto pit road. That rhythm has happened for about 5 laps of green until now. We are back racing in Milwaukee. The 17 of Taylor Gray taking a peek underneath Sammy Smith in that 18. Sammy Smith was your pole sitter. Taylor Gray says, I want it. Sammy Smith says, not so fast, as they dive into turn 3.
Taylor Gray this time, nice and even. They're up above that repaved strip. It's got grip up there, but Sammy Smith's trying to say, hey, wait a minute, I need some more racetrack to run, not the high groove. I don't want to be above into the marbles.
Sammy Smith takes the edge across the line. That's an 18-year-old in the 18 racing a 17-year-old in that black number 17. Could that be a Reese's sweet move? This battle is going to continue.
These are racing lines, not just because the bottom is where you want to be, but really you can run the middle and up. We just saw how able Sammy Smith was to take this lead back from the outside.
Talking to drivers today, they said it's deceiving because there's a lot of room here at Milwaukee, but you can't really use all of it. You've got to stay in that racing groove.
And the biggest thing, Krista, the track looks symmetrical, but when you go to turn 1, you have a grandstand reference. A lot of young drivers said, I don't know where I need to turn in on this 70-foot wide racetrack in turn 3. So they're starting to figure this out really for only about the 20th minute of green flag time we've had all day for these drivers.
And 14 of 150 laps complete. We mentioned the Reese's Sweet move. You're going to need to stay with us all afternoon because you have a say in that as we find out. We're going to nominate 3 moves, and then you get to vote tomorrow morning on the MAV TV ARCA Menards Series Twitter account on what your Reese's Sweet move of the race was. As we continue to watch Sammy Smith lead out front, that number 1, that's Jake Finch. That Finch name is a familiar one to race fans.
James Finch's dad has been a winner here at the Milwaukee Mile, but it's Jake's turn now, the 17-year-old out of Florida, making another start here in the ARCA Menards Series. He raced in a bunch of ARCA Menards Series East this year, not a full schedule, but great to see Jake on the move forward in that number 1 Toyota. Jake's got a lot going for him at just 17 years of age.
Do you have more, Mike? Jake Finch in that number 1. We'll try to check back in with Mike Massaro in just a bit. I actually, as I was talking to him, Richie Waters is down there working with Jake Finch. Richie Waters, a familiar name to fans of the Truck Series, which used to race here at the Milwaukee Mile.
Richie for a lot of good teams, including Billy Ballou's and James Finch's efforts in the efforts here. He actually won a race here with J.R. Norris back in the day.
Were you here for that?
I was.
Of course you were.
Ran a late model, a super late model with Dalton Armstrong actually back here in June at the mile on the other big weekend of racing here at the Fair Park.
There's just so much history, not just here in Milwaukee, but for race fans in Wisconsin in general. And talking to drivers, that's why a win here means so much. You don't have to be from the Midwest to understand it, but someone like Sammy Smith, who's from Johnston, Iowa, he certainly does. Midwest racing, so important. So many race fans, I know, all across the country, but they really love it here in Wisconsin. Sammy Smith is a two-time winner this year, back-to-back wins in the ARCA Menards series.
And for as busy as he is with the Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series, he's only 4.5 hours from home. A lot of folks have been paying attention to this young cat since he was 11 years old, running bandoleros at Elko Speedway.
And we're watching the battle for fourth here between the number 20 of Jesse Love. That's Raja Caruth, and that 6 trying to hunt him down.
I like Jesse Love's attitude. I really like the fact that he won a race. Now he's sitting in fourth in that Yahoo Toyota, but last weekend at Springfield, he led all of the laps in this 73-lap race at Springfield last Sunday on the dirt. He ran really well the year before there. He also has lap times here right with the leaders at this point in the race.
Well, let's see if we can hear from Mike this time. Mike, what have you got on Jesse Love?
You know, Jim says he loves Jesse Love's attitude. Well, his attitude is just taking it up a notch after that incredible victory last week at the Springfield Mile. I spoke with him moments before he got in the race car today, asking him about what that win did for him. He said it gave him his swagger back, and that swagger could go a long way. His approach today is to do the same thing he did last week. Obviously, he's not going to lead every lap, but he says he intends to come home with a trophy today. He wants to go on to a winning streak.
And who doesn't love Love when you think about it?
And he finished top 5 at Watkins Glen. He won at Springfield. We're going back to a dirt mile. He has a chance to win some big money if he wins both dirt mile races. There's a lot going positively for that young driver that's been on the eyeballs of Toyota Racing Development since the age of 10. He's now 17 with great opportunities.
So we're going to talk about that, but yeah, it's sort of a contingency, a race within the race for those dirt races.
Yeah.
So Jesse Love is eyeing that. He knows he has a chance to win $50,000 next week at DuQuoin. But first, he wants to win here at Milwaukee. Right now, he's holding off that 6 of Raja Caruth, but Raja is hungry.
And I'm watching the groove. So the patch in the turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 is symmetrical. But we see how the drivers are coming across that darker portion of the racetrack. We're going above that now. The left side tires dancing on that seam of the darker patch to the older asphalt to the outside, the grayer asphalt. Then Jesse's really doing a nice job keeping the outside running. But Raja, he is right there.
They are door to door coming out of that turn. Jesse taking the slight edge over the 6 of Raja Caruth.
It's not about how low you can go in the corners here at Milwaukee, how much speed you can carry through the corner. Caruth again trying to steal some air off the rear left fender of the 20 of Love.
Jesse Love, just 17 years old, a ton of racing experience, as we were talking about. Raja Caruth came into racing a little bit late compared to some of the pipelines that we talk about, but he is not wasting any time learning. Look at him dive down to the inside, trying to take the lead from that could be a Reese's Sweet move. This is the battle for fourth, by the way.
And there's owner points implications for these two teams as well. Raja Caruth's team is full-time with one driver. Corey Heim has split time with Jesse Love, but that team and that car number accumulates points throughout the year. And the big payout at the end of the year, yeah, the driver gets the championship trophy, but the big check goes to the owner champion, which they're fighting for as well in these two cars.
And we have been stuck like glue with these two on the battle for fourth because it's just that good. We do want to remind you that Sammy Smith in that 18 is still out front, but Raja Caruth able to take the advantage away from Jesse Love for that fourth position.
Getting around the 44 of Mike Gowdy, Toronto, Ontario racer. Good to see him back after one race last year, back here in the ARCA Menards Series for Andy Hillenberg.
Got the leader on the left, Sammy Smith in the 18, the battle for fourth on the right. And we don't see him in your screen right there, but Jim, are you seeing something on the racetrack?
I'm seeing Sammy Smith pull away and gain a 1/10 of a second even through traffic on this duo. He's got a 2.4 second lead. As Raja has figured it out, he's now ahead of Jesse Love, who's now changing his line a little bit. A shallower exit off of turn number 2 this time to get some grip down the backstretch.
What a summer it has been for Sammy Smith. He has those back-to-back wins. He wanted to win at Iowa, his home track. Wasn't able to get it done there, but was able to come away with back-to-back wins in the summer. And really has been racing Xfinity Series, has been racing anything he can do once he turned 18 this summer.
He raced Daytona in the Xfinity Series on Friday night. He qualified third, but it was a short night for him after the rain delay. He got some early accident issues, spun off of turn 4, But keep in mind, this kid also finished third at Watkins Glen after racing in the ARCA Menards series the day before. So this is really part of that development for Sammy now in his 11th ARCA start of the year.
And these teenagers, Sammy Smith, and here we look at the 17 of Taylor Gray. This is what they do. You ask them, what do you guys do away from the racetrack? What are your hobbies? They don't have time, first of all, to have them, but they don't want to do anything else. If they're not racing, they're studying racing. If they're not studying racing, they're thinking about racing. This is not just a job for them, it is a way of life.
Daniel Dye running third right now, that number 43. Really good job with the BecomeADeputy.com number 43. Dye racing for GMS Racing. This is the same car, same team, same crew chief Chad Bryant that finished third here a year ago while he was racing full-time ARCA Menards Series East Points. Now in the National Series, just 13 points out of the lead. He's running better than his points combatants. Roger Ruth back in fourth. Sanchez, the leader, back in sixth right now.
As we watch Daniel Dye, 43, on that preferred bottom groove here at Milwaukee. We introduced you a little bit to him. We got to learn more about him in our Bounty Rookie Spotlight feature. He talked about, you know, they had some bad luck at the beginning of the year, but really it does seem like they have found some consistency these last few weeks, Jim.
Yeah, 8 straight top 10 finishes heading into this one. Third at Michigan. Okay, he's 18 now, but he never raced at Daytona, his home track, before he raced there in February. Finished third. Second at Phoenix, and then he kind of lulled a little bit, but he's rolling strong now for the second half of the season.
Watching Raja Caruth and that number 6. Caruth currently racing fourth for Rev Racing here at Milwaukee, trying to chase down Daniel Dye. Daniel Dye starting to close in on Taylor Gray in that 17 in the second position as Sammy Smith continues to lead. Here's the 20 of Jesse Love. Jesse Love in the 5th position, and he has Raja Caruth's teammate, Nick Sanchez, starting to hunt him down.
And the 20 team is actually leading the owners' points. In second is that number 2 of Nick Sanchez. So there's a battle within here. 11 points separating our 2 owners' points leaders. So it's another thing to keep those Venerini and Rev Racing teams close in contention here. Nick Sanchez, again, has had the point lead for the last couple of races. His teammate Raja Caruth, in his first full season, had the lead for the majority of the season, and now we're getting down to it. And it's looking like Jesse Love with that maturity, that confidence now, racing with Nick Sanchez, and a whole new opportunity for him. The car is nothing like it was a year ago when he finished 12th.
And Nick Sanchez is only about 2 tenths behind Jesse Love. He is coming, and he is coming fast.
These long straightaways can lull you into entry into turn number 1. We saw Love go high and around Raja Caruth. Raja got back by him on the inside. Now Jesse's running that upper lane, dipping into the bottom of the yellow line in turn 2. Nick's just following suit here. Reminder, we have 2 race breaks built into this race. We're 20 laps away from the first race break, so they're not communicating with their team. This long green flag run is important to get a handle on things.
And they're dealing with lap traffic, too.
And Sanchez, you were right, Krista. Sanchez is coming. He's just kind of pacing it, giving himself some time to get this car right. So when they make that race break, they get it right with he and his crew chief, Matt Butcher.
31 laps complete, so that first race break will come in about 19 laps. Jesse Love, our winner last week on the dirt in Springfield, now racing on the flat 1 mile over of Milwaukee, and he actually said he raced on Friday at Davenport, down in Davenport, Iowa, pretty nearby.
Yeah, that was in a midget. He's getting more dirt midget racing, which I think is just part of his wheelhouse. That kid ran 70-some races a couple years ago, Jesse Love did, before getting more attention turned towards pavement stock car racing and racing for a team here in Wisconsin, run by Chris Wimmer, with Toyota's involvement. He's run a lot of big races in super late models, so he's getting more comfort, more confidence. He ran here back in June of 2021 in the super late model Father's Day 100. So there's a lot of things to where do we race, how do we race. Jesse's getting some more opportunities now back in the dirt car after a couple of years.
And I love it when we throw in names from the past or just names that Wisconsin fans will recognize. Wimmer, certainly one of those for sure. As we continue to watch Jesse Love in that number 20, everybody is trying to chase down that number 18. That's your leader dealing with the lap traffic. That's Sammy Smith in the 18. He's 18 years old, a 2-time winner so far this year, hoping number 3 is going to happen this afternoon here in Milwaukee on MAV TV. Welcome back to the oldest continuously operating speedway in the world, the Milwaukee Mile. Such an awesome place to race, and the ARCA Menards series is doing just that today here in Milwaukee. That's the battle for 5th that we're watching, because it is so good between Jesse Love, number 20, he currently holds it. Nick Sanchez in the 2 wants it. And there's a whole lot of mix going on here, Jim.
That could have been a big moment. Rajah Cruz was trying to look to not get picked off at turn 4. Somehow he got through, and he's on the mash pedal. And look at Sanchez to the inside now. Sanchez in the 2 and the 20 of Jesse Love. I didn't think Sanchez was going to get this close to him. I thought he was going to get stuck behind that lap car. No way. Sanchez is on it.
Well, and Landon Pembleton in that